How are you doing? And I hope well. And as for myself, I'm doing as well as you can do in year 2020. Monday, that was the opening day for us rifle season, October 12th. Got up and went out, got a nice young 5-point buck. Went and got some lunch, got tested for COVID, went back to the woods that afternoon. I didn't see anything that afternoon, but my buddy got one that afternoon, so another day in the year 2020. Thankfully, I got my test results back today. They were negative for COVID. And the reason I got tested, my supervisor, he tested positive last week, him and his whole family. But fortunately, they're all doing well. They seem to be getting over it real quick. So it's good news there. And I don't have it, thankfully, which my thinking is if I get it, I get it. I don't want it by any means, but my big concern would be infecting someone else. So I don't have to worry about that now. So, hey, it's another week in the year 2020. But I'm well on my way to filling up the freezer. And I've had a pretty good season thus far. We're still in our opening week of rifle season. I've got two, one with the muzzleloader and one with the rifle. And I got to thinking about this. I've been wanting to do some hunting videos, but my hunting videos just aren't very good. And at the same time, I realized some of the most important parts, you don't really capture that in a hunting video. And not only that, but there's a lot of lessons to be learned from a hunt, almost every hunt. Well, myself, I haven't done a very good job of learning some of those lessons because I keep repeating the same mistakes. So I got to thinking, I need to do a log on my hunts, and truthfully, I should have been doing this years ago. A lot of you, I'm sure, do, but I never have. And yeah, it's cost me a time or two, but that's okay. It's never too late to start something new. And then I got to thinking, well, you know, some of y'all I think might enjoy hearing a recap of my hunt. Going over my log with me. What lessons did I learn from that? What worked well, what didn't? How did the bullets perform, rifles, equipment, so forth. And I got thinking, that might make a pretty decent video. So I'm going to try this, basically a hunting log, for 2 or 3 videos, see how this goes, work on the format some, and get some feedback from y'all. But so I think this is going to be pretty interesting here. Okay, so today we're going to start with the first hunt, or at least my first deer. And that was a 4-point with the muzzleloader. And that would have been Saturday, October the 10th. So, not even a week ago. And it was a pretty interesting hunt. Saturday, October the 10th, evening hunt, and a quick description of my setup. I was on the backside of a large clear cut, which in the south we've got pine trees. Lots of pine trees. When they come in and cut out the pine trees, we call it a clear cut. And they grow up real quick with vegetation and they get thick. Well, this one's pretty thick. And there's more pine trees surrounding it. Well, clear cuts are a magnet for deer because of all the vegetation. Great early season spot, muzzleloader, so the pressure's not on yet, and I'm on public land. Okay, so I've got a road in the front, road on the side, pine trees all around. I came in on the back side. I set up at the intersection of 3 different clearings through the pines. So I've got a fresh scrape and lots of rubs right here, straight ahead, 100 yards away. I've got another section here that I could see parts of it. It was really thick, growed up. I probably had 50 yards visibility. It looked like I could see 150, just knowing how the vegetation fools you. There's a lot of deer that could have got by me through here. but I still had 50 yards visibility through here and another 50 through here. And the same way here, it looked like you could see 100 yards, but with that vegetation, deer could have got by me pretty easily, just depending on where they came out. So I'm setting up, facing this direction, watching all three ways. Pretty decent setup. And wind. The wind was blowing straight into the clear cut, which is great because usually in the evening the deer are going to come out of the woods and then they're going to go into the clear cuts to feed. So that was my setup, and I sat there till dark and I didn't see a thing. Then right at dark, I turned around in my stand and I'm fixing to come down out of the tree, and I looked on the straightaway behind me and noticed it was a lot lighter behind me just because it was more open, and the woods always get dark quicker than an opening. So I just stood there on the stand for a minute, and I wanted to see what kind of visibility I had in my scope right there at low light. So threw the muzzleloader up, I'm looking through the scope down the straightaway, and literally the deer walked into my crosshairs. Okay, I got the deer. All right, that was the hunt. So now I want to look at what I got right, what I didn't, and how can I improve on this? Because bottom line, I just got lucky. I mean, and that's okay. A couple days before I had some bad luck. I was due for some good luck, and that's hunting. But we all want to work to be better and improve. So what are the things I would put down in a log here to just, okay, I need to work on this. Okay, so let's start with what did I do right? What did I get wrong? And I think it's really important to remind ourselves of what we got right. And in this case, I put a scope on my muzzleloader. I've been hunting with this old Knight LK93 for a long time. 50 caliber, 22-inch barrel, just simple muzzleloader. One of the first inlines. And it has done a great job for me. And I've used iron sights on it. I love iron sights. But I've mentioned past videos, my eyes aren't what they were. So I want to go ahead and put a scope on it this year. I'm having a hard time seeing my iron sights now, especially in low light. The scope paid off. Okay, so I got that part right, adding a scope, had it zeroed, shooting well. Okay, what else did I get right? Well, when the deer walked out, this old Knight, there's two safeties on it. There's one right here that you screw down, and then there's a standard side safety just like on almost any rifle. Well, this safety right here on the bolt, and I guess you'd call it a bolt, when you screw it down, it prevents the bolt from hitting the cap. All right, so there's no way it can go off when you screw this down, and I really like this feature on these muzzleloaders. I've always loved this safety. Well, I'd already put this on. So when the deer walked out, I had to stop right then. The deer's walking, and I didn't have but just, a moment or two to make this happen. So I had to take the muzzleloader down. I never looked at the deer. I didn't want to know what it was doing. I had to focus on this, getting this off as quickly as possible. As soon as I got it off, saw the deer again. Its head was going into the clear cut as I was going back up on it. Quickly got on the deer, made the shot. Okay, so I got quite a few things right then. The deer ran into the clear cut. Really thick stuff. It didn't go far. I heard it crash. But any of you that's ever been in a clear cut, you know how much fun that can be tracking a deer there. So equipment wise, had a good flashlight, had a good headlamp, and I also had toilet paper, TP. Okay, I didn't need this time. All right, but just a quick tip for y'all. This is more than just for, emergencies in the woods. You can, when you're trailing a blood trail, and I should have recorded this. I didn't. I wasn't thinking about it. I didn't even know I was going to do this format. But when you're following a blood trail, when you see a drop of blood, when you get to the last drop you see, take a little piece of toilet paper, put it right there on a branch so you can see it, and then go back, out ahead till you find the next drop. All right, if you can't find the next drop of blood, you can always look back at the last one and, okay, let me go back and start over again. Fortunately, my friend was with me, so one of us could stand where the last drop was while the other one went out. Okay, I got a drop here, and that's how you do it. This deer bled great, so we found it pretty quick. But in a clear cut, you don't just shine your flashlight and 30 yards, 40 yards up there, you see a white belly of a deer. In a clear cut, you just about trip over them before you find them. So just remember that with the toilet paper. That little trick can help you out when you're by yourself. I had good flashlights, found the deer. Okay, the wound. And again, I really wish I'd have recorded this. In the future, I will keep this in mind. But perfect shot placement. When I'm shooting something low velocity rifles, or in this case muzzleloader, I like to aim just behind the shoulder. I want long shots, but I don't want shoulder, with an already slow bullet, I don't want to hit a shoulder bone. Shot placement was perfect. It's actually just a little bit further back than I wanted because when I shot at the deer, it was walking. It never did stop. So keep that in mind. When they're walking, you're going to hit further back. Still, great shot placement. Both longs, bullet. I'm shooting 200 grain. Basically, they're a ballistic tip, but it's TC shockwaves. And for those of you that aren't familiar with these are a saboted bullet. They're just for muzzleloaders. And this isn't the shockwave, but I can show you the sabots. You got a little plastic collar. You put the bullet in the collar and then back it down muzzleloader. All right, well, what that does is it gives you, these are probably 44 caliber. It gives you a smaller caliber bullet, but you can shoot it in 50 cal. Okay, 50 cal, the large bore diameter, you get more velocity with less pressure than a small bore diameter. So these work out great in that you get good velocity that you would get from a 50 caliber, but then you still get good sectional density from a smaller bullet, so you get better penetration on the deer. Had great penetration, it penetrated both sides, great blood trail, long shot. All of that worked out perfect. Okay, so I got a few things right there. The wind was perfect. I got that right. So, I lucked up and got the deer, but I did do a few things correctly. Now, as far as what I didn't do correctly, and I don't know how to fix this one. Stand positioning is critical in deer hunting, and that's one of the downsides to a climbing stand. All right, you're locked in place. All right, and that's it. In this particular instance, I needed to be facing right in front of me. There's just no way around it. I had 3 lanes, thick growth. That's where all the signs were. That's what I needed to be watching. The deer crossed behind me. I mean, there's just not much I can do with that. There's no way to predict a deer walking out in the spot that you just don't think they're going to walk out. Matter of fact, they tend to do that quite often. One thing I could have done differently on this, though, instead of setting up so that I'm directly facing those 3 shooting lanes, I could have got on the other side of the shooting lane that I found and set up so that, okay, I've got all 3 shooting lanes to my left. That way, I can cover them real well from this angle. but then have the right so that I can still watch that way. You know, every now and then just glance back. That's a tough call too, though, because when you're dealing with stuff that thick, okay, well, that instant that you look back to check the opposite direction, you know, you're taking a chance on not catching that little bit of movement that you just see from an ear flickering or a tail that you would catch if you're just watching one direction. And I'm going to get a lot deeper into that on the next video, and you'll understand why. And that's probably going to become its own video in the future. But that's about all I could have done differently there, is just set up so that, okay, yeah, I'm watching those 3 different shooting lanes off my left side, and then on my right, you know, just every now and then glance. And I'm not even sure that would have been the right call. It's just a tough situation. I got lucky. But again, I did get a few things right, so I guess that's hunting. Hopefully some of y'all picked up something out of this that'll help you out some. Honestly, I don't have all the answers on hunting, and I don't think anybody does. All we can do is just work to try to improve. And I think when we reach the point that we're no longer trying to improve, honestly, I think that's when we quit hunting. That's the trying to improve, the trying to get better. I think that's part of what motivates us and gets us out there on those cold mornings climbing a tree. Well, lucky for me, I've got a lot more to learn, so I should be out there for many more years. And for this format, we'll see how this video turns out, and then I'm going to do some tweaking based on this and your input, and we're going to try to improve this format here and come up with something, like I said, that helps you out, but also helps me. So I've got a log, you know, a record to look back on. Okay, what did I get right? What do I need to improve? And that's valuable stuff, and I recommend all y'all try that, the log. I wish I'd done it years ago. Like I said, equipment-wise on this, and I was really happy with my equipment. So I've got nothing to work on there. My big issue, I guess, would be stand placement, and even then, I'm not entirely sure on that one. So I hope this helps. God bless. Happy hunting. Have a good season.